Stasiland indeed. We're almost there. Chapter 25 now. And you'll notice in the chapter heading that we've got a new time marker, Berlin, spring 2000. So the time has passed. And we've got a place, but also a time marker there to lead us in to this new section when she's come back to Berlin after being home with her ill mother.
Chapter 25. Berlin, spring 2000. Berlin is green, a perfumed city. I realise I have never been here in full spring. Even from my old nightly flying television excursions into summer, I could never have imagined this.
A perfumed city, you say, Funda? Well, olfactory senses back again, picking out the sense of smell. A perfumed city. It's a metaphor, isn't it, of course, because it's not really a perfumed city, I don't imagine. Well, I've not been. You've been, I think. But you can tell me if it's perfumed or not. Not intentionally so, I don't imagine. So, a green perfumed city. Green being hyperbole as well, I guess, because, I mean, what she means, presumably there's lots of green space, but it's not actually a green city, I don't think. That'd be unusual. So yeah, it's a bit of metaphor, a bit of olfactory. Funda at her best.
The trees are huge and lush, light green. Sunlight filters through them, soft and scented over the pavements and parks, squares and schools and cemeteries.
Oh, what a dream this is, isn't it? It's lovely. Figurative language here. It really is back to that figurative, almost novelistic way of writing. Soft and scented, the sibilants, pavements and parks, squares and schools and cemeteries. I don't know, the plosives of pavements and parks and the sibilants of squares and schools and cemeteries. It's, don't worry, it's not a persistent cough, I don't think. It suggests it's honed, it's crafted, it's designed to be quite enchanting the way it's written and to be quite engaging for the reader through these figurative, almost poetic techniques, really. And she even goes on to say that the chestnuts are magical. Well, her narrative prose is magical too, isn't it? It sort of draws us in and we get captured in the sense of the place, the perfume of the place. Absolutely delightful. Their heady sweetness floats in the air like the memory of kinder times. Oh, how lovely. Like something from a novel. I was going to give a more specific reference, but I can't actually think of one. It reminds me of, I've said it before, but it reminds me of the sort of 1920s hard-boiled detective fiction of people like Raymond Chandler. But yeah, it's sort of a bit cheesy, a bit heavy-handed, but kind of designed to be quite intoxicating. Floats in the air like the memory of kinder times. She's mixing her metaphors there, isn't she? The idea of the heady sweetness floats in the air like the memory of kinder times. So it's a simile, but she's also mixing that metaphor. The idea of something, a memory of kinder times being able to float in the air is a metaphor in itself. So it's a layered, extended, well, no, sorry, not extended metaphor, it's a layered metaphor within the simile.
Outside my windows, the chestnuts are magical. They bear white flowers in upright stacks, candelabra produced by a trick of nature. Their heady sweetness floats in the air like the memory of kinder times.
Oh, I missed the candelabra reference when I was looking through that. Goodness me. Candelabra produced by a trick of nature. Another metaphor there to these chestnuts. They look like candelabra. Is it candelabra or candelabras? I don't know, actually. What's the plural of candelabra? One candelabra, two candelabra. Who knows? Doesn't matter.
I contacted the rental agency. In a piece of freaky good luck, my old apartment had suddenly become available. It was about to be renovated, so the students had left. Because of its pre-renovation condition, the agency wrote, we make no assurances that the apartment is suitable or indeed livable. I'll take my chances, I thought. I bought stationery, bed linen and a coffee maker and moved in. I walk through it now, folding and unfolding a copy of the letter. I sent it from Australia to her old address. Dear Miriam, it is some time ago now, but you might remember we spent an afternoon and evening together. Afterwards, I tried to write your story, but I found I needed to explain other things around it, so the work took a course of its own. I wrote about the GDR and about the Stasi, and then I spoke with other people, some who had been followed by the Stasi and some who had worked for them. I was trying, I think, to get a perspective on this lost world and the kinds of courage in it. I'm coming back to Berlin and was wondering if we might meet again. I'd like to ask you whether you've got any further with the DA in Dresden and whether the puzzle women in Nuremberg have discovered any news about Charlie. I want to make sure, too, that I have everything right. I'm sorry I've been such a long time coming back to you. I've been working on this only on and off. I'm looking forward to summer in Berlin and perhaps to visiting Leipzig. No reply came, but the letter didn't return to me either. Before I left, I emailed Julia too. She wrote back in English. Hi, Anna. Good to hear from you. I'm in San Francisco. I left Berlin 8 months ago for the States. I was just living with too many things from my past that could come and find me there. I am doing great, as they say here. I'm working in a feminist bookshop near Berkeley and have made some friends. We went on a Reclaim the Night march recently, something that made me feel real positive and far away from Thüringen and everything that happened here. They honour their victims here. Really, everyone seems to have a story of something that happened to them. I'm sure it could go too far, but for me now, it is a good thing. I am foreign here and speak with an accent, but am much more at home than in my own country. Funny, no? If you're ever through San Fran, please let me know. Julia. The apartment has not much changed. Such a rock-bottom flat, it would have been hard to denude it further. In fact, it is the additions that are most noticeable. There is a line of postcards pinned up on the wall and over the ceiling of the living room. They suggest travel, but are souvenirs only of pub crawls through the city. They are the free ones with advertising on them. In the kitchen, there is a jar of scrawny but cheery dried lavender, and in the bedroom, a large drawing of a mushroom in magic marker has appeared on the wall. The mushroom has 2 cross-hatched windows on the cap for eyes and a door in the stem. It also has a wide smile on its face. The door is a big tooth, because this mushroom head is also a penis, and it is coming all up the bedroom wall. The first morning I get up and take my coffee across the road to the park. It's very early but light already, an exquisite day. The sky is blue-white, the air still and new, and the streets are hushed. The park is a sweeping curve of green up to the cafe, shuttered over like eyelids. At the bottom lies the pond, which I knew before as a black and dead thing. Now, water lilies float in it, opening up to touch the sun. Somewhere near, a small band of frogs ushers in the day. I sit on one of the benches and look up at the statue of Heine. I never spent time here before. The seat seemed always to be occupied. Instead of a poet's hands, the East German sculptor has given Heine big workman's paddles. The quote reads, "We don't catch hold of an idea, rather the idea catches hold of us and enslaves us and whips us into the arena so that we, forced to be gladiators, fight for it."
Okay, so it's nice to get back into Funda's figurative style, isn't it, here? We're sort of treated to these very rich poetic descriptions, and even more so, it seems, because we've missed them for so long, and we've had quite a few chapters sequentially arranged that they're just meeting with various Stasi men and people with stories to tell, that we've missed Funda's own poeticism, really, in her narrative. And so it's nice to have it. It seems more rich, I think, because we've been starved of it for so long. So look here. So we've got the park, a sweeping curve of green up to the cafe, shuttered over like eyelids. So again, she's trying to, in this case, personify and try and humanise the things that she can see. Even the cafe with the shutters like eyelids. And then the band of frogs ushering in the day. She's using things from the natural world to try and create this sense of warmth and sense of, well, natural imagery, really. And then she describes, when she does talk about someone human, the statue of Heine, she talks about how he's been given big workman's paddles, that metaphor, paddles rather than hands. So she does tend to, as we know, make things quite ridiculous when it comes to human descriptions. Although, strangely, she's very keen to humanise non-human elements in her book. So she's always looking for the human, and yet when she finds the human, she tends to ridicule and use farcical descriptions. So just an interesting dichotomy there to pick up on when you're looking at this as a whole text.
Heine, the free-thinking poet, would be turning in his grave to see the sort of enslaving and forcing and fighting that has gone on here, under his cold black nose and...
Just more Polly Cinderton there, just to suggest the amount of things that have gone on since Heine was around. So the enslaving and forcing and fighting that has gone on. I suppose there's incrementum there as well of enslaving and forcing and fighting. It sort of gets worse, doesn't it? But in a way, I don't know, maybe not. Enslaving is pretty bad, isn't it? Arguably worse than fighting. Maybe ignore my comment of incrementum. I just saw fighting and thought it sounded bad. Forgive me.
Pigeon shit shoulders. Shapes catch my eye behind the statue.
I keep pausing mid-sentence, but I'm going through this with you in real time rather than I haven't read ahead, so forgive me if I'm a bit behind where I should be. It's cold black nose and pigeon shit shoulders, so you've got this, it's bathos, isn't it, really? It brings it down a peg. It's sort of, we describe him with his big paddle hands, and then his shoulders are covered in bird muck, so it's like, it's bathos and it's ridiculous and it's pathetic, even though this is someone who's had a sculpture made of him. Oh, that's weird. There's this like delay on my voice, so when I'm recording this, it's coming back into my ears in like half a second after I've said it. That's really bizarre. Oh, I don't know if I can carry on. I'll have to try.
Two men are shuffling in, one from up the hill and one from the corner below, in suits and slippers with tins of beer in their pockets. Another three appear and take their places on the benches. A couple of them carry cloth shopping bags full of cans. One is wearing a medal on a ribbon around his neck like a Lord Mayor. Once everyone is settled, am I in someone's place? They are leaving a whole bench for me. There are polite greetings and handshakes all round, and nods to me. It's as if we were in someone's living room. One old fellow kneels on his bench to face over the park. He takes out 2 slices of white bread and breaks them, with shaky hands, into even-sized pieces. Instead of throwing them, he lays out a pattern in crumbs on the concrete rampart behind the seat, each piece equidistant from the others. Some kind of madness, some kind of generosity. A man jogs...
So, the parallelism there of some kind of madness, some kind of generosity, just to show the sort of range and of erratic behaviour that she sees and that we all see in human behaviour. But that use of anaphora, there's some kind of madness, some kind of generosity. And I suppose you could look at the phrasing there of madness and generosity and the delay is really distracting. It's not oxymoronic as such, but there's a dichotomy there between those two words juxtaposed in the anaphoric structure.
Past in yellow shorts and a bandana. The drunks greet him in a chorus of, "Morgan! Morgan!" He puffs back. These park men are the gatekeepers here, suited and track-suited sphinxes. Sparrows and pigeons start to fly in for the bread, and suddenly I understand my companion's ceremonial care. We are now the central focus of the park. Nature comes to us in small, winged genuflections at this altar of bread and beer. A latecomer walks up to the group in black training pants. His legs are stilts inside the synthetic material. He's slightly younger than the others, his hair dark and slicked back. He carries a sports bag full of beer. "Harry, mate! Long time no see," says the man with the medal. The medal rests on his bare belly. He is wearing a suit coat with no shirt and red braces over his skin to hold his pants up. "I've been away. Where you been?" "On holiday." "You been on holiday? Mensch, I need a holiday. Where'd you go?" "Mexico." I feel a laugh forming, but the others are nodding solemnly. "What you been doing over there, then?" "Hunting." "Ah," the Lord Mayor nods. "Good hunting in Mexico." "The best." "What'd you hunt, then, in Mexico?" "Elephants." No one bats an eye. "Any luck?" "Nah." Harry shakes his head, sits down and zips open his bag to get into the day's drinking. Perhaps this is really a society of poets and priests, where all stories are metaphorical. Or perhaps reality has been so strange here that anything else is welcome to take its place.
Yeah, interesting way that it's phrased here, isn't it? You've got, if we just go back up a little bit, in this park, she's using, just let me find it, bear with me. She's using interesting spiritual and religious references at times, and even referencing the sphinxes as these park men, as the gatekeepers. And oh, that's right, yeah, the altar of bread and beer. So these I've lost it. Oh yeah, the birds, the sparrows and pigeons flying in at the altar of bread and beer. So you've got this. It's a bit like the first chapter in a way, actually, isn't it? It reminds me of that first chapter when she's looking around and seeing things in Berlin for the first time, sitting on the bench, and we have that again here. And she's really, well, not glamorizing as such, but dramatizing certainly the everyday humdrum of some drunks in a park by heightening it with these quite elaborate metaphors, such as the altar of bread and beer, and that plosive of bread and beer adds emphasis even more so. And the fact he carries a sports bag full of beer. And then you have this sticker myth here showing this very fragmented, broken dialogue between these park men and the fact that they are, I was about to say this sort of absurd conversation, which of course it is. And it reminds me of, in fact, I think, and that's why I've paused, I'm trying to think if she referenced Samuel Beckett. I think she did reference Samuel Beckett earlier in the book, and the fact he wrote absurdist theatre, like Waiting for Godot. And it's a bit like that here. You've got these no-hopers, these sort of down and out, if you'll pardon the pun, characters, and this very absurd nonsense dialogue, and the fact that she tries to rationalise it by saying that it's perhaps because the reality there has been so strange that anything else is welcome to take its place. So if you lived in a place that's so bizarre, then anything is relatively more sane than what's actually happened in reality.
The man with the medal turns to me and raises his can. "Cheers," he says. "Cheers," I lift my mug. "Healthier than beer," he grins. He is missing 2 front teeth. "But not as much fun," I smile back. He takes this as an invitation and comes to sit on my bench. "You're not from around here," he says, reaching into his pocket for a tin of tobacco. "No." "You from Cologne?" "No, I'm—" "Let me guess, Hamburg?" "No, I'm from Australia." "Oh," he says. He leans into me and puts a large hand with curved brown fingernails on my knee. "Don't worry about it," he breathes. "I too have impure blood." I'm smiling, astonished. "How's that?" "My mother was a Pole." "Oh." He starts rolling a cigarette. His grey hair is brill-creamed into a neat duck's tail. His moustache is stained brown where he sucks the cigarette. When he puts it in his mouth, he can keep talking hands-free, the cigarette clinging mysteriously to his bottom lip. "You like this park?" he asks. "Yes, very much." "This park is good, but you should come mushrooming with us sometime. That's the best." "Really? Where'd you go?" "We all get on the train, me and some of my friends there." He gestures to the others who have been watching us intently, but now turn quickly back to their business. "We go out to the end of the line with our baskets and gather mushrooms. It's fantastic." I'm wondering whether he's having me on, painting a picture of train-riding drunks springing sprightly through the forest with their baskets and beer, plucking dainty mushrooms as they go, waving at the elephants. But he's not. "We get," and he lists the species, "Steinpilzer, Pfifferlinger, Maronenpilzer, Butterpilzer, Sandpilzer, they are yellow underneath and spongy. Rotkapper, they look like Fliegenpilzer but aren't, and something I don't quite catch, but you mustn't take them because those you can only eat once." He laughs, throwing his head back so I see an expanse of gum and ridged palate like an underwater thing. "We get 4 kilos in each basket and we come home and cook them up with a little butter. Superb."
Just before I'll just put you there for a second. Just before we get too much further, just that reference to his mouth there, before I lose it, the gum and ridged palate like an underwater thing. Again, this is fun to describing someone's physical appearance as being something quite grotesque. So if you're building up a quotation bank of these sorts of things, that's another good example to include, I would say.
He waves a forefinger in front of me. "You know," he says, bringing the finger to his chest, "when it comes to mushrooms, in that field, I am the professor." Professor Mushroom's medal wobbles a little, blinking in the light on his stomach. A mumbled chorus of approval comes from the other benches. His friends raise their cans to him. "I'm glad to be here."
I might be wrong, but doesn't she also, in the first part of the book, I'll have to check, does she also give pseudonyms to people? She's now, calling the people the Lord Mayor because he's wearing a medal around his neck, and Professor Mushroom because he knows things about mushrooms, which again is sort of laughable and silly. but I just wonder, it feels familiar. Does she do that with earlier characters? I feel like she perhaps does. But it's certainly happening here, isn't it? She's giving them pseudonyms to sort of capture their characteristics.
It strikes me as absurd to have never spoken with these men before, who have been, after all, my neighbours. He continues with some advice. "You've got to get outdoors," he says. "You know, television is not good for the eyes, not healthy." I wonder if he was somehow watching over me that winter, seeing the flickering black and white at my window. Maybe these men, stationed in parks and on street corners, at tram stops and in the underground, are the ones who see everything now. A woman walks past on her way to the lights, and he lifts his hand in greeting, or to let her pass.
The asyndetic list there then of where these men are stationed in parks and on street corners, at tram stops and in the underground, sort of making them seem like the new Stasi men, the informers and the observers.
Back in the GDR, I was a tailor. Now that's not good for the eyes either. I wanted to be an actor or a cook, but it didn't happen.
I think he has become both with this performance and his sautéed mushrooms.
Until 1990, I was in the voluntary fire brigade, but then it all went to hell in a handcart. This capitalismus, you can't imagine the sort of shit it's building.
He sniffs and spits onto the ground. Then he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a comb.
It was so much better before. I'm in the same flat. Then it cost me 450 marks a month, and now it's 804. So what if we didn't have bananas and mandarins? It doesn't take a banana to turn me on.
He runs the comb carefully through his coiffure.
I used to be able to get 5 kilos of potatoes for next to nothing. Beer was 50 pfennig a can, and now what? Transport was 30 pfennig, and 20 on Fridays. I mean, we had a social state. You didn't even have to pay for the medicine. I tell you, I just don't get it. It's all stupid now.
I glimpse past him and see that his friends are nodding in silent, unsteady agreement. I've heard this kind of thing before, though ex-Stasi men, privileged left-wing intellectuals or former party members complain more about airfares.
What good is freedom to travel when I can't afford to go to New York, Las Palmas, New Zealand for my holiday?
Once in Leipzig, an old woman in a pub, drinking her daily schnapps at 4 p.m, said to me, "Well, this is better than the Weimar Republic and better than the Nazis, but bring back the communists is what I say. The pubs were fuller under Honecker. Cheers." I don't doubt this genuine nostalgia, but I think it has coloured a cheap and nasty world golden. A world where there was nothing to buy, nowhere to go, and anyone who wanted to do anything with their lives other than serve the party risked persecution or worse. The morning has come alive now. Insects dance over the grass and pollen hangs in the light as people walk through the park to Rosenthalerplatz station.
Back to the natural imagery here of coming alive. The insects dancing over the grass and pollen hangs in the air, hangs in the light, sorry. So, I do apologise. It's now nearly 5 o'clock and I'm just a bit weary of recording. Yeah, so just the natural imagery of sort of the park life. And when she's describing the park itself, we get the figurative language. When we describe the people in the park, we get this ridiculous, very debasing, derogatory language, really. Although it's presented in quite, I think, an affectionate way, but it is nonetheless fairly derogatory.
Professor Mushroom is on a roll.
Back then, when you were drunk, the police would just take you under the arms and set you down on a bench. Now we can't even sleep here anymore, or we get robbed. It's terrible, the morals these days. Do you know you can get mugged for 1 cigarette? It's the Russian mafia and the Romanians and the gypsies. If a gypsy woman came and danced on this bench, I tell you, your wallet would be gone in a flash.
This complaint, too, I have heard before in different versions. An ache for a lost time when things were more secure. In a security state, after all, the least the authorities could do when they were incarcerating so many innocents was to clean up the criminals at the same time.
Look, 200 metres over there.
Professor Mushroom extends his arm, and I see a swathe of grey chest hair between his braces.
Was the wall. Before we had that, the Wessis flocked over here and bought up all our stuff. We put up the wall so we could go shopping in our own shops. In the end, though, they pulled the wall down and bought us all up anyway, those Wessis with their Western money. All the factories and businesses and even the pubs. And they won't let us hold our heads high now, oh no. I'll tell you honestly about the border.
He pats my knee again.
And I am an honest man. We all knew, every GDR citizen knew, that if you went close to it, you'd be shot. That's all there was to it. So we stayed here. I mean, they should have all sat here on their arses. Then they wouldn't have got them shot full of lead.
I know this argument as well. If you didn't buck the system, then it wouldn't harm you. But from what I have seen, it probably would. The professor shakes my hand.
You really should come mushrooming with us, he says.
The chorus rumbles and nods, and I thank them and go, up to my palace of light and air and lino.
Lovely bit of bathos to end the chapter off with her palace, the metaphor there of light and air, so the hendiadys there, and then we get the bathos at the end and lino, that lovely brown lino that she wrote all about in one of the earlier chapters, called Linoleum, wasn't it? I think something like that. Sure, it was. I don't know. I'm looking through the book, so I'm going to find it. Oh yeah, there it is, chapter 5, the Linoleum Palace. In fact, yeah, the anaphoric reference. I'd forgotten about the palace bit, but the palace and liner there reference. I'm glad I did look that up. That was worth doing. The palace of light and air and lino. And there we are. That's chapter 25 in the park life, as Blur once sang about. It reminds me, actually, there's a friend of mine whose dad was a member of the Nazi Party. He was obviously from Germany. He's about my dad's age, but he's sort of friend of the family, and obviously lives over here now. But he sort of has to live with his past of knowing that his dad was a Nazi, and it just reminded me of her calling him Professor Mushroom, because his niece calls him Uncle Prune, because she once went in his fridge and found they had prunes in his fridge, so she called him Uncle Prune, and now we all call him Uncle Prune. Just a little insight there into my life, but just has a GDR link in a fashion. So that's it, chapter 25. I'll see you next time for chapter 26.